60 seconds. That's all they gave me, barely enough time for my coffee to even cool before I heard the snap of bolt cutters chewing through chain link right outside my window. If you've never heard that sound echoing through early morning Texas fog, trust me, it's enough to make your heart seize up for a second. I remember the air was thick, that sticky Dallas humidity clinging to everything, and there I was just past dawn, staring at a world that was about to get real damn ugly. I looked out and saw three guys, big ones, the kind you'd expect to find bouncing drunks from a bar, not trespassing on private property. But there they were, strutting up my driveway like they owned it all because Victoria Sterling, the iron-fisted president of the Pines Homeowners Council, decided my little piece of heaven didn't fit her vision. You ever meet somebody who could freeze a July day with one look? That was her. She fined me $500 because my rooster dared to crow. 44 months. That's how long she made my life hell, inventing complaints out of thin air, sending animal control on wild goose chases, running me through a psychological wood chipper until I wondered if I'd wake up one day to find my house burned down just to get rid of me. But I'll tell you something, I wasn't scared. Not in that moment. As I watched those guys tromp through the gravel, my hands wrapped around my coffee mug, I caught myself grinning. Not the kind of grin you show company, but the kind a coyote gives right before the chicken coop door swings shut behind him. Because while Victoria thought she was setting the stage for my public execution, I'd spent every one of those sleepless nights building a trap that'd make Wile E. Coyote jealous. She'd handed me all the rope I just needed to watch her tie her own noose. And buddy, that was about to happen a whole lot faster than she realized. Just a handful of months before I figured retirement was going to be smooth, slow mornings, sweet tea, maybe tinkering in the shed. I spent 3 decades stringing high-voltage lines for contractors who'd sell out their own family for a bonus. I finally cashed out everything I had for 3 acres at Whispering Pines. I'm telling you, it was paradise, a grandfathered ag sanctuary, chickens, gardens, the kind of honest land you smell when you wake up, not just see. Old Arthur Pendleton, the fellow who sold it to me, swore on a handshake it was legally bulletproof. Historical covenants, he said, and I believed him. First month there, it was heaven. Rooster Spartacus, that's his name, sang the sun up every morning. I'd get my hands dirty in the greenhouse, taste tomatoes that didn't crunch like plastic. It felt right. Until, of course, the devil herself moved in next door. Victoria rolled up in a white blazer worth more than my pension, standing by my gate, like she was about to launch a hostile takeover. Never really smiled, just sort of bared her teeth. She told me my place didn't fit the evolving look of the neighborhood, and if I wanted peace, better pave over my past. She was selling this fantasy of rural life to city folks who liked the idea of chickens, but not the reality of, chickens. You can see where this is going. Within 2 weeks, I got a noise violation, $200 for morning birdsong, then animal control code enforcement, you name it. They came out, poked around left, scratching their heads because my place was clean as a whistle. Victoria didn't care about facts, though she cared about power. She hit her stride at the community meeting, buttering folks up with homemade pie and then flipping on a PowerPoint that basically painted my home as a biohazard. Big red arrows on aerial maps, barns labeled priority elimination targets. You'd think I was running a nuclear plant, not a chicken coop. Eleanor Bishop, bless her heart, tried to speak up for me, said the farm was the soul of the place. Victoria just smirked. Sentiment doesn't pay the mortgage. That walk home under the Texas stars, something shifted in me. I'd been on the ropes, sure, but I realized right then I wasn't out. Not by a long shot. So the next Saturday, when Spartacus went nuts at sunrise, I knew something was up. Caught 3 guys in neon vests on my land running surveys without a hint of legal paperwork. Victoria sat in her Lexus across the street watching like a mob boss. Instead of raising hell, I played the slow old man. I made note of every law they broke. Monday, I took those notes down to the county office and for $40 got every deed, plat, and covenant ever filed in Whispering Pines. When I laid out all those papers on my kitchen table, I just about laughed. Turns out Victoria, Queen of Compliance, was living in a glass house, a sprinkler system 3 feet over the property line, a pergola built without a permit. The works. So I called in a real surveyor, certified and state licensed, just to make it official. That cost me $800, but it was worth every penny when Victoria called, voice like a rattlesnake, trying to scare me off with threats of government scrutiny. I let her rant while I sipped my bourbon, then reminded her that scrutiny works both ways. Next move was hers, a cease and desist order taped to my door threatening $500 a day in fines for unauthorized agricultural expansion. She circled structures on my property stuff that had been standing longer than her house. But the real low blow, she started going door to door telling young families my chickens were biohazards. Enough panic to get the signatures she needed for an emergency board tribunal, basically a kangaroo court, to bulldoze me out. Now here's where things take a turn. Instead of panicking, I dug deeper into the county archives. Found out Victoria's showpiece estate was one big code violation, illegal septic, unapproved kitchen, $8,000 in fines waiting to happen. And Eleanor. Turns out she'd been quietly recording Victoria's door-to-door lies, got her on tape clear as day, accusing me of poisoning the neighborhood. Thursday night, I walked into that emergency meeting with Eleanor by my side. Room-packed Victoria with her poster board of doom getting ready to bury me. I let her talk, then rolled out the blueprints of her own illegal builds, let the room see for themselves. When she tried to shut me up, Eleanor hit play on her phone. The place went wild, some neighbors laughing, some demanding her resignation. Victoria snatched her papers and ran. But if you're thinking that's the end, you'd be wrong. The real twist dropped at 3 a.m. A couple days later, a thick manila envelope slipped under my door, full of court-smelling paperwork and emails. Turns out Victoria was more than just a control freak. She was on the take from a big developer, Vanguard Prime, getting paid to force out folks like me. And get this, Caleb Pendleton, Arthur's son, the guy who sold me the farm, had set me up as part of a scam that targeted 8 farming families. Retirement, huh? More like walking straight into a slaughterhouse. I'm not ashamed to say I was gutted mad sure, but heartsick. That feeling didn't last. I called up Sheriff Brody, a local, the kind of lawman you actually trust. He came over, took one look at the paperwork, and knew we were dealing with something big. RICO-level big. Not just a nasty HOA dispute, but a racketeering operation that'd chew up old folks and spit them out. We got organized. Eleanor, me, and Sarah Higgins, another farmer who'd gotten targeted. Her granddaughter just happened to be a criminal justice major. We wired Sarah up for a meeting with Victoria and caught her bragging about the whole thing. Meanwhile, Brody and I cooked up a trap, sent Victoria an email, told her I was giving up, ready to sell whatever it took to get her to meet face to face. Thursday night, she showed up to close the deal, not realizing she was about to walk into a room full of feds. But before we could spring the trap, she pulled one last truly evil move. Came home to find my greenhouse trashed and my rooster and 2 hens stumbling poisoned. Vet said it was a slow-acting toxin designed to make it look like disease. Exactly the thing she'd been warning neighbors about. Standing in that animal ER, smelling antiseptic, listening to my rooster gasp for air, I'll tell you that's when the last bit of patience in me died. I called Brody. He told me to pack a bag and get out because the FBI was about to come down hard. That weekend, every single person in Whispering Pines packed into the high school auditorium to see what would happen. Victoria, still clinging to her power, brought in a fancy lawyer, tried to present evidence of biohazards. But the tide had turned. Neighbors started questioning her, the energy shifted, and then doors slammed open. Sheriff Brody strode in, 3 FBI guys in tow, and took the stage. Brody started reading off transcripts of Victoria's recorded confessions. Fraud, intimidation, collusion. When she tried to claim harassment, I stood up, voice shaking but loud, holding up the vet reports. Told the whole room that the only harassment came from her, and she was about to find out what real justice looks like. You could feel the room break, all that tension snapping. Folks cheered as the FBI cuffed Victoria right there, read her rights in front of everyone. Her lawyer gone dialing for backup. Victoria the Queen brought low before the people she'd tried to crush. 6 months down the line, things have changed. My porch looks out over more land than before. Thanks to a huge settlement from the developer's insurance, we bought 5 extra acres and started the Pendleton Vance Heritage Farming Academy. Now Eleanor teaches local kids about animals and honest work. Spartacus, that tough old rooster, is back strutting around. The HOA, run by Marcus Thorne, now a good man. Victoria's sitting in a federal prison, real estate license shredded, Vanguard Prime in ruins. Even Caleb Pendleton had to turn state's evidence just to stay out of jail. But you know what sticks with me? It's not just the revenge, it's the redemption. I look at these kids learning to gather eggs in the sunrise, and I think about how close we came to losing everything that mattered. Standing up to greed didn't just save my farm, it saved the soul of this whole community. So here's my question for you now that all the dust is settled. Where do we draw the line? When the very people or laws that should protect us get twisted by power or money, how far should a person go to fight back? And if the system is rigged against folks like us, is breaking the so-called rules the only way to get real justice? I'd love to hear your take, especially if you've ever been up against something like this. Drop your thoughts, your stories, whatever's on your mind. Because sometimes the only way things get better is if folks like you and me actually start talking about it.